Find the good in you. Stop looking for all the negative. Find the good. What do you do well? Then focus on that. Then find something else that you do well. Don't listen to people.
Are you ready for an extreme makeover of the mind? With the producer and host of A Better You podcast, the transformational coach whose assignment is to challenge people to change, grow, and evolve into the individuals they were created to be. Here is Dr. Anthony McFarland, providing you with practical tools and wisdom for everyday life challenges for you to win in life, relationships, and finances.
Hey guys, welcome to the ABU Lab, The Pivot. I'm excited about this new season and the guests that I'm interviewing on this platform. And I'm telling you that you're going to be blessed by my guest today. She has always valued people. She's a woman of integrity, good work ethic. She's a wealth of wisdom and knowledge. And as a result, one of the things that she shared with me is that she loves learning and growing and developing as an individual. And I believe when that is your outlook on life and you understand that is a key component in fulfilling your purpose, you have something to offer other individuals. And she talks very candid about the mistakes that she's made along the way, from being a single parent mom with a beautiful daughter to now being married again and, having experienced both lives, what that's been like. And that's why I believe that she's a good gift, an individual that people can draw from. And one of the things, and she actually says that one of the reasons why she loves life coaching, teaching, encouraging people to grow is because it gives her a lot of joy. She gets joy out of blessing other people. And so with that, my next guest, some of the other things that are very appealing about her as a coach, as a woman of faith, a wife, entrepreneur, is that she's an administrator for a boutique law firm that specializes in security laws. For over 5 years, she served in a ministry that works with women going through the grief of marital betrayal. Her passion is to help other women get to a place of winning in life and thriving and being who God has created them to be. And so as a former university instructor in the business arena, she holds an MBA with an emphasis in marketing and a BS in business management. And she is also one of my newest added team members to our coaching team here at A Better You. And so please help me welcome the coach, Marcia Ridley-Shumate.
Hello, Pastor. How are you?
Good.
What a great introduction.
Oh my goodness. I'm just sharing, my personal experience aside from what I know about you with our audience. I'm blessed to have you on the podcast with me, as well as a new coach on the team. And so I'm just excited about what the future holds, as well as seeing how God is going to use you as well as our team to bless so many people. Tell the people a little bit more about yourself, maybe something I left out, and why you're so passionate about helping women succeed and grow in life.
I'm the youngest of 16 kids. And
Wow. 16 kids.
16. I have siblings that could have been my parents. The age gap was there. My father was married 25 years before. That's 13 kids. He was married to my mother 46 years, and that's the three of us. But I grew up in a house where my mother always had somebody in the house that she was ministering to. There were so many young people that were spending the weekend or spending the week. And I think it's in my DNA, because her heart for people, or hearing her on the phone praying with people. I grew up sitting on the piano stool next to my mother. I don't remember not sitting on the piano stool. And so we were a musical family. And so with that church background and seeing the real truth of church, and seeing people hurting in church, and not the just I'm blessed and highly favored, it gave me a real look at what life is. And that being a Christian is more than just going to church. It's helping others. And if you have gifts and talents that the Lord has given you, if you're in tune, you will find yourself moving into those places where God really wants you to go. I spent many years in music. All of my years in church basically was in music until I had my daughter, and there was like everything got shut down. It's time to be a mommy. And then when I started being more involved in church again, it changed. My emphasis changed from sitting in the children's choir, being that parent. But then, when I was invited to the ministry, Women of Worth, several years ago, my heart just exploded with it. And it's been a blessing to me personally. I thank God for that open door.
Now, you share with me on the platform of the Women of Worth platform, you help women overcome betrayal and then go beyond the trauma of unhealthy relationships and finding themselves again. Expound on that.
It's a 3-semester program. And I mean, it is a program. It's not just here's some scripture to read and we pat you on the back. It's a manuscript, and it deals with understanding your upbringing, understanding how you might have missed some signs, how you may have enabled certain behavior. It's biblical, but it's also psychological in terms of what it looks at. And the initial part is understanding what happened and helping you through that first initial part. And then the second part of it is looking at your family history. There are various tests and quizzes that you take, so that you can look at yourself and see areas that you need to grow in, because you have to grow yourself. And then there are sections on boundaries, understanding what boundaries are, understanding what forgiveness is and is not. And people have misconstrued that. And again, using the Bible as a guideline, helping women who need to leave that situations that are dangerous, providing resources for them that they may need so that they can be safe. It is rewarding, but at times it has been gut-wrenching to deal with the trauma, getting the phone calls and praying them through, and women who feel suicidal, that you're praying them through and getting resources for them that are in place. But it has been such a learning experience. I've grown as a person, I've grown as a woman and as a Christian and as a wife, because there's no way you can do any kind of work and not yourself grow from it. That's and learn things in yourself that you need to work.
Yeah, the self-growth is so important. You experienced divorce?
I did not. When I say I'm a single parent, I was a single parent.
Okay.
I know completely what single parenting is.
Okay, doing it all by yourself.
All by myself, yes.
So what do you say to the women who wrestle with forgiving? When you say teaching women to understand what forgiveness is and what it's not, can you elaborate on that?
Because that's a great question.
Even for men,
yes,
people in general, to understand what forgiveness is and what it's not. And sometimes we can think we've forgiven someone and we really have not, and we don't understand, to the other extreme, the effects of unforgiveness and what it can have on our lives, our spirits, our bodies, our health.
Yes. First of all, we're to forgive because the Bible tells us to forgive. But forgiving someone does not mean you have to stay in relationship. It does not mean you forget. It does not mean it was okay with what they did. It does not mean that you will not go through a healing process, because forgiving and healing are 2 different things. Forgiving is this: okay, I forgive because the Lord told me to forgive. But then you need to be healed from that. And a lot of people say that, well, I forgive them, but they don't go through the time to allow themselves to heal. And that's where trauma comes in. You need to acknowledge certain things. Lisa Turquoise has a book on forgiveness. And one of the things she says, you need to collect the dots, then you need to connect the dots, and then correct them. That's a process. And we don't do that. I think we've twisted the word of God somewhat. And then, you don't understand why people are blowing up. Well, they're blowing up because they didn't deal with that. And this needs to be dealt with. So you can forgive someone. Again, doesn't mean you need to be in relationship with them still. They may not be safe to be in relationship with. You forgive them, but I need to put some distance between us. And then some people, you forgive, and it's a work in progress to rebuild a relationship. But you need to know what that situation is and whether you can handle it. And not everyone can handle it. And sometimes you need space, and it may be several years before you come back and say, okay, I can deal with this. Personally, It took me 10 years to stop hating my daughter's father.
Wow.
I had to do it by prayer, because if somebody's constantly doing something, it's hard. So I had to do it by prayer. I literally wrote out 3x5 cards with scriptures on. And every time something negative came up, I had them in my purse, I had them in my office. I'd look at one of the cards. That's how I was able to do it, is literally the word of God and scriptures that related to that. And so I got to the point where I could see him and I was okay, or I could hear his voice and I was okay. But it takes work, and we need to be honest with that. It's not snap your finger. It's like, ooh, I'm done. No, you have to work the work to get through it. And I think if we are honest and do that, then forgiveness really takes place, and it's a full forgiveness.
You said something. It is the word that we have to learn how to apply, but the word has to be worked. And sometimes just the word alone is not enough in respect to you need actionable steps, principles, the tools to help you forgive, to help you heal. And so there's one thing that you said starting out in terms of church hurt. I think sometimes we use that statement too freely and without understanding what that really means. Truth be told, people get hurt in the world, and people get hurt, period, whether it's in the world or in the church, because of people. And there are real people from the world who are in the church, who are at your job, that you come into relationships with, that whether it's under the auspices or title of I'm a Christian or God, the reality is we're dealing with people. We deal with people all the time who are not healthy, who are toxic. And when you don't know who you are and you don't have certain skill sets, listen to me, I believe that we make ourselves vulnerable to other people's shortcomings, unhealthy behaviors, because we don't understand who we are. And I'd like for you to speak on or touch on why boundaries are so important, because I believe that if people understood who they were, that self-worth was there, and they understood the importance of boundaries, a lot of this hurt wouldn't even take place. So how do you address boundaries with, women creating new boundaries so they don't find themselves in another horrible relationship or experiencing abuse from somebody again in their life?
Well, I think one of the things you do have to look at is your childhood and your childhood history. What were the dynamics in your family? So if the dynamics in your family were, and it doesn't have to be some people who were drinking and drug addictions or anything, but the dynamics could have been a toxic environment in terms of what was said, that it was abusive in terms of the words that were said.
Right.
And so if that becomes your norm and you don't realize that now you're doing that, or now you're in a relationship that's doing that, if you can't go back there and look, then you don't know how to set boundaries. And so boundaries would be, in that instance, saying, okay, when someone starts to speak to you like that, stop. You cannot speak to me like that. That's not tolerable. If you do, this is what I'm going to do. And I don't mean punitive. There's a difference between being punitive. I'm just mad at you.
Yes.
It's got to be something that is relatable, something that has impact in that person's life. And that could be, several different things. When you behave like that, first of all, you need to let them know how it makes you feel. So you got to be honest with that. And I'm not talking about screaming and yelling, and I'm talking about having that conversation. I remember one time there was someone who, I was dating, and we were talking about something, and it got a little heated, and he told me to shut up, and I stop. Do not ever again in life tell me to shut up. I draw the line on that. You will not have you can say stop or don't say that, but shut up. Will not. We've never, and it never came up again. But it's hard to stop something that you've allowed to go on for 20 years. It can be done, but it's hard to do it. And so you have to look at yourself and decide, okay, these are the things I will not allow to have happen. You cannot grab me. You cannot whatever. And I'll tell women most of that. The first time a guy grabs you, he will do it again. Next time he's going to hit. So you need to
say that again.
The first time he grabs you and you let it go, then the next time he's going to hit. because you're telling him,
Yes.
I'm okay with that behavior.
Yes.
First time he curses at you, then he's going to go further than that. And same thing with our children. It's the same thing, setting boundaries and doing it then and there. I don't care if you have to write them down. With the program, we would have them write down, what are your boundaries?
I have
So
people
they know.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
now how do you handle this? You know, what do you do? One of the things that would come up many times when marriages were in conflict, where the lights would get turned off. And I say, okay, so let the lights get turned off. But the kids would be fine. To have some flashlights, have them camp out. Let him figure out how to do it. We come to the rescue.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
we come to the rescue. Let him go down and pay the money to turn them back on. And don't enable that behavior. You know, and so that's the hardest thing for women to do, especially when they've been doing it for a while. And setting boundaries are hard, but they're necessary.
Yeah, and I have come to find and share with people, because I've done some master classes on boundaries. Boundaries are for you. They're not for other people.
No.
And I think, unfortunately, for many of us, we set boundaries after the fact, or we share, even if we have boundaries, we share the boundaries again after the fact, after something has happened, versus when you meet someone, you share with them your boundaries up front. And that's the missing component in a lot of relationships, even just friendships. Forget intimate relationships, just friendships. Hey, I want you to understand me and share with that person, this is who I am. This is what works for me. This is what doesn't work for me. So now you know up front, this isn't about you, it's about me. And so now you know what I'm willing to, or I'm unwilling to tolerate, what does not work for me. So what is the greatest challenge that you see people have that prevent them from shifting, changing, healing, really experiencing, walking in the deliverance that God would have for them?
I think self-worth is huge. I think that feeling like that everybody else is entitled to it, but not you. I have worked with women of all ethnicities, and I've seen it completely across the board. And I see it a lot in women, African-American women. I think our people have not been taught certain things in terms of relationships, from slavery. You beat, everybody's beat. And so there's no value. And no personal value. And until you have that, value who you are. I used to tell my daughter, know who you are, whose you are, and who you belong to. And she said, I belong to Jesus, I belong to you. My name is blah, blah, blah. Well, because I wanted her to know that. And don't let anybody else define you. A lot of times our kids are not being told that. Don't let somebody define who you are.
Yes.
And so I have had people tell me that I am, well, they'll do extremes, well, you're kind of cocky. No, I know who I am. I was 5'10" at probably 10. And so everybody saw me when I walked in, and I was thin. I was really thin, and I had really, really red hair and these freckles. And so I was noticeable. I was blessed to have women come alongside of me and say, baby, stand up straight. Be proud of your height. Be proud of this. And a lot of young women do not get that.
Right.
And that has impacted their self-worth. We're afraid of being alone, afraid that we're not good enough. And that maybe if I was lighter, if I was shorter, if I was taller, if my body had this different part, then, and forgetting it's the core of them, not the physical part of them.
Right.
And they haven't gotten that. And so, I have been a builder of women all my life. I will see a woman across the street, girl, that outfit looks good on you. I've had Black women stop and stare at me because I complimented them. It's like they never got a compliment from another woman. That's a travesty. And we can change it in our little circles.
Right.
You look pretty today.
Right.
I love that outfit.
Right.
Your hair looks, simple things.
Because when people feel valued, helping people understand what self-love is, and then owning yourself. We want everybody else to like us, value us, accept us. But do you like, value, and accept yourself? Because it starts with you. I had a great mother that told me I was the greatest thing since sliced bread. But because my father was not in my life, there was there were these insecurities. And although she was saying these things to me, it was hard for me to see myself that way based on, again, environment, family construct, outside entities. So it was hard for me to really know that and walk in who God created me to be. With that, again, I'm excited to have you be a part of the ABU coaching team and just share with the people some of your thoughts or takeaways on the masterclass we did on mastering your thinking and the importance of why people need to understand learning how to master their thinking is so important, so that, our event is, unstoppable. That's the theme, becoming unstoppable, moving with power, passion, and purpose in the next season of your life. Touch on that.
I think one of the things that, if more so now than ever before, is we're bombarded with everything from X, formerly Twitter, to Instagram, to the news, to everything. And so much can be coming at you. You're not formulating opinions of yourself, or formulating opinions or thinking clearly, because you're trying to parse through the truth from other things. And I think the more you get intentional about what you're putting in you, then you make better decisions. And I think that one of the things the master classes did was it gave people an opportunity and permission to think differently, permission to hear differently, permission to move beyond where they are. And I hate to say it, but I think a lot of people want to feel that it's okay, and they want to feel that other people are walking along with them. And so when you have people in a class together who are tracking together, that's encouraging. And you can form bonds that way. And those friendships, I struggle with that. I was wondering about that question. That was some different information. I learned in the master class some information that I didn't know. And I talked to one of my sisters. I said, well, we need to investigate this, but that's what you want to do. You should always be open to learning. And one of the things I encourage people to do, it's good to read spiritual books. You need to read them. You need to read your Bible, but you need to read books about literature, about history, about your culture, about finances, about children. You need to explore, and fun books. I go around the world in my reading, basically, because I read bibliographies, autobiographies, a lot of different things.
That's good.
And I would say, give some reading assignments for people who might not automatically read. My daughter had a library card when she was 2, and we read all. My family, the Ridleys are readers. And I think it's so important. And I think in our culture, especially, reading is not always stressed. We watch TV, we look at things, but we need to read. And not only does that help, Pastor, it strengthens your ability to understand, your cognition, words that you don't know. It gives you a bigger outlook on the world and not the 6 blocks radius that you live in.
Yeah, expand your worldview. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah,
expand your worldview. Before we close, I just thought it was important, based on what you were sharing with boundaries, that people really understanding the importance of setting healthy boundaries in relationships. I think people have to first see, and what are your thoughts on this, that boundaries are healthy for relationships, for their own personal life and their relationships.
Well, first of all, Jesus had boundaries. When he told the disciples to send the multitude away, he was tired, he rested. So that's a boundary, knowing when you're tired and not taking on extra things, because my boundary is I'm protecting my body, I'm protecting my health. You can't help your family and raise your family and take care of them if you're sick, if you're in the hospital. So understand that that's the reasons we have boundaries. Boundaries create peace in our homes. When we tell our children, this is the time for you to do homework and it needs to be done, there's no TV until it's done, then we have to stick by that. And if they complain, then you have another boundary. Well, if you complain, this is the consequence. You will be in bed. You would take a shower and go to bed. And the bed is the island. Don't get off the island unless I tell you to. They're healthy boundaries, because as they get older, they'll push them more and more unless you set that and establish it. In your relationships, it keeps some problems from happening in your parenting relationships, in your relationships with siblings, in your marriage. When you say, I know you were upset the other day, but that what you said and how you said that to me was not acceptable. I am your spouse. I'm your husband. I'm your wife. We need to respect each other. and you owe me an apology.
That's
And
good.
now if it happens again, then this is what's going to happen. Again, don't be punitive, but make it so that you are clear on that, because you want a good relationship. You want a good marriage. You want good relationships with your parents, even your parents. Mom and dad, this is not your house. These are my children. I
Right.
love you.
Right.
But you cannot come in and tell my children to
Yeah.
do something that I did not tell them to do.
Yeah, that kind of speaks to, and I want you to speak to the person who needs to understand that it's okay to be honest about what they need.
Yes. Sometimes we think that we are not important, or that if you say what you need, the person won't like you, or if you say what you need, it may not be good. If you don't say what you need, they won't respect you, because how can they know what
Say
you
that
need?
again. Say that
If you
again.
don't say what you need, they will not respect you.
Especially back to, I can't say this enough, up front. We wait until the after fact. I think we need to be more proactive in every relationship that we're in about being honest about what we need
Yeah.
from that relationship or that person.
Yes. And again, we're going to start learning it, because most of us don't know it. We've never been taught that. We just don't know it. And so some of us are going to be working from the back to get to the front, so that becomes your norm. And that's okay. So if you don't know what you need, sit down and write it down. If you know something makes you feel uncomfortable, then address it. Don't wait for 6 months, but address it. Something happened this morning that I need to address with you. This happened, that made me uncomfortable. Please don't do that again. That setting the boundaries. Again, not yelling and screaming, but in a calm manner. Step back,
That's
pray,
good.
and then talk.
That's good. And, I think ultimately what you're alluding to is people understanding the importance of communication. And so share with that one person that needs to understand that it's okay to listen to what your partner needs are.
None of us are psychic. And just because you like to do it a certain way doesn't mean that's what they like. And just because you want to see them dressed a certain way doesn't mean that that's what makes them comfortable. Being in a relationship means I want to hear what you need.
That's
I want to
good.
know what bothers you.
That's good.
And if you can't do that, and you're not willing to do that, then you need to look at yourself and see what it is about you that's not willing
That's good.
to give to your mate, your spouse, what they need. Relationships are give and take. And if you want them to hear you, how's that going to happen if you can't even hear something basic that they want? Honey, I don't like that kind of food. But baby, I don't want to eat that tonight. We did that last night. Let's do something different. Honey, can you buy this for me? I know you like this, but I like this.
Right. I love it. You guys are hearing it straight from Coach Marcia. Marcia, this has been great. Again, I'm looking forward to the ABU Unstoppable event. In close, what is the one gem, the one life lesson you would share with individuals or maybe women that need to understand the importance of self-worth?
Oh, wow. You just gotta love you. I don't care if you have a wart or nose. You just gotta love you. Find the good in you. Stop looking for all the negative. Find the good. What do you do well? Then focus on that. Then find something else that you do well. Don't listen to people. Not everybody wants to see you succeed. And so sometimes the negative you hear is because people see more in you than you see in yourself. See the good in you. You are the apple of God's eye. He loves you. He loves you. Love yourself. Girl, look in the mirror and say, baby, I got it going on.
Yes.
And it's not from pride, it's not from arrogance, but knowing who you are. You're beautiful. You're fearfully and wonderfully made. Speak over yourself. I talk to myself, girl, look, we're not going to do this today. We're going this direction. Talk to yourself. Speak to yourself. David encouraged himself in the Lord. Encourage yourself in the Lord. Encourage yourself.
Yes. Thank you so much. And you can connect with Marcia if you'd like a coaching session on our ABU platform. Go to abetter-u.com. and you can book a session with Marcia and just make that notation that you would like to have a session with Coach Marcia, and she'll be more than happy to meet with you. All right, Coach, thank you so much. I'll see you on the other side.
Thank you for tuning in to a Better You program with Anthony McFarland. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow on your favorite podcast platform so that you never miss an episode. Thanks for listening.